What's going on, everybody? It's ETAPRIME back here again. Today we're going to be taking a look at the all-new AYN LOKI Max. Now this is one that a lot of people have been talking about for a while, and there were some delays by about 6 months, but it's finally here. It's actually shipping this month. And if you do have your pre-order up, just keep an eye on your email. But I was lucky enough to get an earlier unit to take a look at and kind of give you my thoughts on this new handheld gaming PC. If you're not familiar with the Loki, you might be familiar with another handheld from AYN known as the Odin. It was an Android-powered handheld, one of the best on the market, powered by the Snapdragon 855. And while I'm still holding out hope that we're going to get a new revision of the Odin, an Android-powered handheld, they definitely wanted to release some x86 handhelds, and they did have a few to choose from. But in this video, we're taking a look at their highest end offering right now for the Loki line, known as the Loki Max. So this is actually powered by the Ryzen 7 6800U. We've also got RDNA 2 graphics. And overall, I think they've done a great job with the design. It does look a little bulkier than some of the other ones, but it's super comfortable. And one of my favorite things here are actually the analog sticks. They are absolutely amazing. We've got quite a bit to cover in this first look video, but before we move any further, I do want to mention that this video is brought to you by URCD Keys. I've actually been using this site for a couple years now. They do offer Steam keys, Origin, Uplay. They even offer Microsoft applications like Office, but the main reason that I use URCD Keys is for their Windows keys. Right now, their Windows 10 Pro OEM key is $19.84, but if you use code ETA at checkout, you can get 25% off. And another great thing about buying from here is they do accept PayPal. I just did this build here. I need to activate Windows. I'm going to head over to my updates and security. We're going to go to activation. As you can see, I've got Windows 10 Pro, but it's not activated. So I'm going to change product key. I'm going to paste it in here, choose next, choose activate, and Windows is now activated. We're ready to go. My warning is totally gone, and basically that's it. They'll email your code once your payment is processed, and that's basically it. If you're interested in picking up cheap Windows 10 keys for your new PC builds, I'll leave a link in the description. As you can see, we do have a little bit of RGB on this, actually more than other handhelds on the market. Really does kind of set it off. They are offering two different color variants. Obviously, we've got the white here, but you can go with the black over on their website if you want to. And if you want to learn a little more, I'll leave a link to that in the description. But in this video, I kind of want to give you a first look, and we're also going to run some benchmarks and test this unit out. Like I mentioned, a lot of people have been waiting for this. I've actually got a pre-order still in for the Max. And when it comes to the overall controller feel and layout, I think they've done a great job. Buttons are using dome switches, and these analog sticks feel great. I mean, very, very smooth. I don't know what it is about them. I haven't pulled this thing apart, but they feel really, really great. D-pad is also using dome switches, and I'm usually not a big fan of these, but with this one, does feel a lot better than some of the others on the market. It's got a very nice roll to it, and it does feel accurate. We'll definitely get into some testing with the D-pad. And of course, around back, we've got our shoulder buttons and our analog or linear triggers. Really nice travel, awesome feedback here with the spring they opted to use, and yeah, I think this would be great for racing games. But of course, there are a lot of other handhelds on the market powered by Ryzen 6000, and now we're seeing a lot of them being released with Ryzen 7000. So, this is really going to come down to if you've got your pre-order in, if you were already dead set on getting this, these are the specs and performance you're going to see out of the Loki Max. So for the CPU, or the APU rather, we've got the Ryzen 7 6800U, 8 cores, 16 threads, up to 4.7 GHz, built-in Radeon 680M iGPU with 12 CUs. It's based on RDNA 2, and it'll run at up to 2200 MHz. We've got 16 GB of LPDDR5 RAM running at 6400 MHz. It utilizes an M.2 2242 SSD, and this one happens to have a 512 GB SSD pre-installed, plus we've got a micro SD card slot on the bottom. 6-inch 1080p IPS display, Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.2, a 46.2 watt-hour battery, built-in gyro, X-axis linear motors, and this is running Windows 11. Now, I looked at this, it is running Windows 11 Home, but you could upgrade to Pro if you wanted to, or even run Linux. Since the Loki Max is using a 6-inch display, it is coming in a lot smaller than some of the other major players in the market right now, like the ROG Ally and the Steam Deck. So if you're looking for a smaller handheld, then this would definitely fit the range that you're looking for. It is coming in larger than the original AYN Odin, which, like I mentioned, was powered by Android, so this is more on par with the new AYN Neo Air Plus. That also has a 6-inch IPS display, and it is coming in a little longer, but overall, I mean, they're right on par with each other. First impressions here, it does feel chunkier given that we have that smaller screen. Looks like we've got more space to have a larger screen, but the way they have this, the ergonomics on it are great. Fits right in the palm, super comfortable to hold. Glad that they used these full-size analog sticks even though we're working with a smaller handheld here. So we've got kind of the full-size Xbox One controller analog sticks in here, and they feel great. I mean, super smooth, very accurate. And as for kind of proprietary software, we've got the Odin suite. Not exactly sure what they're calling it here, but we can fully adjust everything we need to. From the GPU clocks, CPU percentage, TDP, we can also adjust the brightness, volume, fan control directly from here. We've got manual, auto, or you can do a full custom fan curve. And of course, we've got RGB control. Now, we wouldn't be able to do this without this application, so this is kind of proprietary to the AYN LOKI Max. But we've got a lot of great settings here, and it's still a bit early, so I'm 100% sure we will see more added to this application down the road. But for now, for testing, allows me to do everything that I need, from adjusting that TDP and the clocks on the CPU and GPU. The TDP can be adjusted from 8 watts up to 38, and 38 sounds like a lot for a handheld, but it really does open up this 6800U. For benchmarks in this video, I'm going to run it at 28. That's kind of, game mode for a lot of manufacturers out there. And we're also going to be testing a little over 15 watts because we've done a lot of testing with the 6800U, and when it comes down to it, just needs a little more power to get up there. And speaking of benchmarks, that's the first thing I wanted to take a look at. So with all of these, I ran it at 28 watts. That's kind of game mode for other manufacturers, and I figured I'd test it right there for at least the benchmarks. And with Geekbench 6, we get a single core of 2040, multi 8811. When it comes to GPU benchmarks, I use 3D Mark. Here we have Night Raid with a 19,208, Firestrike 5,221, and finally, we've got Time Spy with a 2,077. So this Time Spy is looking a lot lower than some of the other 6800U handhelds that we've tested, and it really comes down to that manual GPU clock. Once we enable it from the AYN suite, it's going to give us that manual GPU clock, and with that, it's going to take a lot of wattage away from the CPU. So I'd love to see an auto setting there, and I'll talk more about it at the end of the video. But now it's time to jump into some real-world gaming, and the first one here is Street Fighter 6. While we're here, I figured we'd go ahead and test this D-pad, because like I mentioned, I'm not a huge fan of the dome switches, but this feels great and it works really well. With this game, we're at low settings, 720p, 24 watts. That's how it is with Street Fighter 6 right now, the 6800U, and we could up the wattage, maybe go 720p medium settings, but personally on this 6-inch screen, I still think it looks great, and it really comes down to the fighting. As you can see with this D-pad here, we can pull off all of our favorite special moves. It's a lot better than I thought it would be, feeling it right out of the box. Next up, we've got some Forza Horizon 5, and this is one of those that just works great on the 6800U. 1080p medium settings, over 60. In fact, we got an average of 78 FPS, and I'm not using FSR right now. This is one of those games that, you can basically play on anything. Even Intel integrated graphics do work great with Forza Horizon 5. Fallout 4 is an older game, but I still wanted to throw it in here. We're at medium settings, 1080p, still at 24 watts. Not bad, but we do get some dips under 60, so taking a few of those settings down or even up in the wattage would definitely help out. Got another older one here that I personally still like to play. Just wanted to see how far we could push it. Dirt 3, 1080p, high settings, over 120 FPS on average. And finally, we've got Cyberpunk 2077, 720p low settings with FSR set to performance, over 60, but every once in a while I do notice kind of a hiccup here and there, and I really do think it has a lot to do with that manual GPU clock. Personally, I haven't found a way to set it to auto in that AYN suite, but that would be really nice if they add that down the road, because as soon as we enable this, it's gonna take all of that wattage that we need, and we gotta run this at a lower wattage to get battery life out of it, and send it over to the GPU, because this 680M can pull up to 34 watts totally maxed out, just on the GPU side. Now we can use a third-party app to get this set to auto, or not even start up the AYN suite, but this is here and a lot of people are going to be using it, so hopefully by the time this is fully released to the public, we will get an auto mode there, and I'm sure it will be added. Just right now with this earlier unit that I have and the early software, it's not here yet. First impressions, super comfortable. I think they did a great job choosing this 6-inch IPS 1080p display, and these analog sticks are really great. I kind of wish we had these exact ones on something like an Xbox controller because they're so smooth. I do love the RGB, not a lot of people are into it. You know, on my main PC, I'm not into it, but on a handheld like this, it definitely adds a little flair or a little extra. Now, I will have a couple more videos coming up with the AYN LOKI Max, and if there's anything else you want to see running on this, just let me know in the comments below. I've got an emulation video planned. I'd also love to install SteamOS on this. It's going to take me a couple days to get around to everything, but yeah, I mean, if you're interested in seeing a little more, it'd be really cool if you could hit that subscribe button and think about turning notifications on. But that's going to wrap it up for this one, and if you want to learn a little more about the Loki, I'll leave a link to their official website in the description below. And like always, thanks for watching.